everybody. Welcome to tonight's episode of Hey Sister. Hey sister, how you doing?
Hi, sister. Doing well, doing well. How about yourself? What's going on? What's happening?
What is happening over in the Orlando? The last couple of days we had some really bad stormy weather, but today it was just a beautiful day. And so I think it's a metaphor that we or an analogy, whatever you want to say, it is informative that even though we can go through some really tough storms and some really dark times and feel like we're being tossed around, when a new day dawns, it's new mercies, new grace. We had sunshine, cooler temperatures. It was just a magnificent day today. So
Well,
that's what's
awesome.
happening over here. What about you?
I am just excited because I have some cousins in town and just really been great to laugh and talk and connect. So that's been great for me.
Oh, that is so fantastic. Love it,
Yes.
love it, love it. Anytime we can be in fellowship with family, it is a wonderful thing. So if you're tuning in tonight to Hey Sister, tell us something that you're grateful for. Drop it down in the comments. As we say, that's where you join the conversation, is down in the comments. Let us know that you're here, that you're watching tonight. Please also remember to share with your community, your friends, your network, all what we're doing here at Hey Sister and the conversations that we have weekly on Sundays, 8 p.m. Eastern time. So, sister, we said, hey, no agenda today. We just coming to talk to the people, talk about what's on our minds, on our hearts, what's in our spirits, and just talk today. And we
Yeah.
said we're not talking about it no more.
Well, yeah, it's funny because, like I said, I was talking to our cousin earlier, and she kind of asked, how did we start? Why did we start Hey Sister? How did we start Hey Sister? And I said, it came out of us having conversations and basically feeling like it would be great if people could be flies on the wall and listen to some of the conversations that we have, and so we're going to be true to our origins, if you will, and just have a conversation because you and I can talk about a whole lot of stuff and go in multiple different directions.
Multiple different dimensions and directions for sure. Well, something that I just kind of start us off with, something that you and I have been talking a lot about, dealing with a lot, is these questions around identity and purpose, right?
Hmm.
We've been talking about that a lot, and we have a weekly Sunday school with shout out to our family back in Thibodeau, Allen Chapel, and Moses. We have a weekly Sunday school that we started during the pandemic, and
Hmm.
because it's been so nurturing to all of us, we just kept it going. And so here
Yes.
we are, 2 years later, still having these wonderful Sunday school lessons, and really learning and growing leaps and bounds, I would say, in our spirituality. But one of the things we talk about all the time is identity and purpose. And as I reflect back on this week, all the hullabaloo in the news, the slap, everybody's opinions and feelings, people projecting their own stuff onto a situation. It's like y'all bring all y'all feelings to this situation. Like y'all making it as bad as all it was. It's like there's a lot of projection going on.
Hmm.
But then we boil, all of that stuff. At the end of the day, what's our purpose? Like, why are we here? Like, what's the most important why? What's the most important things to focus on? And when our identity is so caught up in these external things like celebrity, um we can lose sight of the more important things in life. And that's something that I've been kind of toying with this week in my mind. I don't know what you think about
Hmm.
that.
Interesting. I won't say that I've been toying with it this week particularly because I toy with it all the time. I think that when we do have certain situations, whether it's, I guess this coming week or maybe tonight, I don't know. When is the Grammys coming on? Whenever the Grammys are
Tonight, I
coming.
think it's tonight.
Oh, okay, it is tonight. Yeah, we're ridiculous. So yeah, when it comes to things like the Grammys, it comes to things like the Oscars. I've been watching Lizzo's reality show, um, just anything like that. When you look at people and you're like, man, I do. I don't believe that God only made certain people to sort of live their best lives, to fulfill their purpose, to find their space in this world, and to, live abundantly in it. And so that's why always a constant question. I mean, from waking up every morning, how do you do the work that you've been purposed to do, but you may be going to a job that you may not feel full fulfillment from, or you have relationships with people that you have known for a very long time or you have history with, but then you question, do these relationships still serve me? Are they helping me get closer to my purpose? Are there new relationships that maybe I'm missing out on because I'm holding on to some of the old relationships, things of that nature? So I won't say that this week was any different. I think it's a constant question in my mind, especially as I get older and I see more people transitioning. Um, because at the end of the day, whether you're, you know, 40 or 80 or 100, when it's time to go, it is really a quality of life and a fulfillment of life question. Because you can be 100 years old, and if you didn't have a good quality of life, you don't feel like you lived out your purpose, you had no passion about anything, you were just kind of going through the motions. It's still sad, even if you live. I mean, it's sad regardless, from a transitioning standpoint. But I think you know what I mean. It still doesn't feel like, it's like, wow. Then it feels like, wow, that was a lot of time, and they never figured out what they wanted or how to get it, or you know anything like that. So, in other words, that was a very long answer, but the question is always on my mind, not just because of this past week.
Oh yeah, I would agree with that. I wouldn't say it's always on my mind, but I think there's all these moments that cause us to just take perspective. you
Oh
know
yes.
and I'm definitely always trying to, like, okay, like, let's put it in perspective, let's boil this thing down to the littlest thing and get down to what's the most important, and a lot of times it's none of the stuff that we're talking about.
True. But I will say, based on this, the conversation that shall not be had at this point, I do think, though, there is a deeper conversation about protection and protecting Black women and what the role of a man is in protecting his wife, his sister, his cousins. What is the role of a sibling protecting his sibling? Because obviously, others have chimed in. I do think that there should be space, although it doesn't feel like it, but there should be space for some real conversations about what that looks like. Because again,
Well, let's talk about it. What does protection look like to you? I mean, in any of those instances, as a significant other, as a friend,
mhm,
as a lover, as a sibling, as a daughter. I mean, what does protection mean in any of those instances? Because I think you're absolutely right. There is this larger conversation of what protection is and what protection looks like. And this is where that I think some of us have to check our unconscious bias around the messages that we received
mhm.
growing up about what protection is or looks like. And yeah, I think this is a good conversation to have. So for you, what does it mean for you?
Well, I will give you an example of when I felt like I was stepping in to protect someone else. So I think I might have told you this before. About 4 years ago, I was in New Orleans in the French Quarter with some friends for one of my friends' birthdays, and there was a man, a black man. He's a performer, and he was standing on his crate and he was, performing
On his thing.
and doing his thing. And across the street was a gathering of what appeared to be mostly white um, professionals. And I say professionals because I think someone said that it might have been a group of lawyers. And they were throwing Mardi Gras beads at this gentleman. And they were doing it, and of course, they were drinking, and they were doing it in a way that felt so demeaning to me, to this gentleman, because all he's trying to do is perform and make a few dollars. And I stood, I watched, I let it go on for a few minutes, and then I felt like I in my spirit I had to intervene. And I intervened, and they the men who were doing it didn't take kindly to me saying, telling them basically that they should stop and they needed to be ashamed of what they were doing. But I went over to the brother, and in that moment when I locked eyes with him, I immediately got teary eyed, and because in my mind it's like, why aren't you standing up for yourself? Like, these people are trying to make a mockery of you. But I couldn't even find the words. I was just like, sir, like, don't let them do this to you. And then I broke down, of course, and he was like, why are you crying? Don't cry, don't cry. And I was like, because this is not right. And when I see something that's not right, I feel like I have to step in and say something. And after that moment, um the men who were up there, like I said, they said some unkind words. I happened to be in a group of sisters who was a bunch of professionals too. So there were some doctors, lawyers, and a judge. So it was like, come with it if you must. But there were people in the group, one of my friends whose birthday it was, she was very much like, I said, I apologize, I'm sorry. I wasn't trying to, cause any problems. And she was like, no, you did what you felt that you needed to do in your spirit. And that's cool. That's no problem. But I did have two of my friends, I remember being like, almost that you shouldn't have intervened kind of thing. And one of her rationale was, you shouldn't have intervened because look, he's back to performing. He's back on the box performing, what have you. But for me, it was sometimes people don't even know that they are being like how Dave Chappelle famously, said, of course, you need to know when people are laughing with you and when they're laughing at you. And the men did continue. They gave him some money. Now, at least they did that because they weren't even doing that. They were just throwing beads at him to try to strike him. But they gave him some money, but then they proceeded to do it again. And yes, he continued to perform. But in my opinion, that was a moment of me trying to protect a brother who may not have even realized that he was being made a mockery of,
Or he was used to it because
or he
that's
was
what he
accustomed to it.
does. That's how he earns, his living is in that performance space. But I know I've been out in Los Angeles and them performers be like, "Oh, what? Okay, we about to cut you up." Okay,
Yeah, and it's a
Spider
very
Man. I was like, "Oh, Spider Man went Spider Man on the people for real."
yes, and that's another thing. I think that you always have to be mindful when you intervene in something. But when something does not sit well in your spirit, I do think it's appropriate to intervene. So protection to me looks like standing up when you see something that you know is wrong, even if it's unpopular, even if you have people who are gonna say, well, why did you do it? See there, it nothing changed. You have to do what it feels right to you in your spirit. But also I I didn't need to get violent with them because had a bead been thrown at me, we was gonna shut bourbon down. It was gonna be a different kind of situation. So, and I'm beyond that point anyway. But yeah, I think that that's just an example of what protection looks like. I think, and I read somebody said something earlier today or on online saying like sometimes protection is putting your arm around that person's waist who is in that moment feeling some kind of way. In the case of a spouse, maybe
Mm-hmm.
putting your arm around their waist or on their shoulder, baby, it's gonna be okay. That can be protection too. Or putting your hand on your man's knee and say, "We got this. Don't worry about it. We're gonna handle this."
Mm-hmm.
That can be a form of protection too. So I definitely think what we have to learn is that radical resistance and radical protection does not have to, it don't have to have any violence attached to it.
Mm-hmm. Well, we would love to hear what you all have to say out there. If you have something to say about this topic, about what is protection and how you define it or what it looks like for you, let us know. I'll say
Keeping
that,
someone safe, safe. That's a good word for protection. Safety.
yeah, well, like you said, I believe that protection, I believe safety can come in many different forms. It's about helping make that person maintain their wholeness, right? And whether it's from, hey, it could be from past traumas, past situations too, kind of reaffirming them and make them feel whole again. I think that is a form of protection. I think, and as we've discussed, the incident that shall not be named,
Mhm.
that's gonna be the way we rolled on it. um you know any normal other space or gathering, any normal workplace setting or workplace meeting, um my husband would have went to jail
Mhm.
or been arrested, right? Or and if he wasn't arrested in that day in that moment, it would have come after. So again,
You're saying, I'm sorry, because I want to make sure it's clarified. You're saying if your husband chose to protect you in that same
if my husband chose
vein,
to protect me in a way of violence in which someone is not actually coming at me physically,
then
in
your
a
husband would have ended
physical
up.
way,
Yeah. Okay.
then my
I just
husband would
want,
have been
yeah.
in jail. You
Yeah.
know,
Okay.
verbally, no, right? Verbal jab for verbal jab. I'm a big believer in proportion,
Hmm.
in a proportionate response. And so, but even in a proportionate response, things can get out of order. One of the things that, and we had Dr. Alana on our show, who is the trauma psychiatrist, and talked to us about empathy and empathy cure. One of the things, in kind of doing some more workshops and things with her, um, that when making a decision, like when tapping into your prefrontal cortex, one of the things she said when making a decision, one of those things in that decision process, even though it happens like in a second, is what do I have to lose?
Hmm.
What do I have to lose?
Hmm.
Because that often will guide the type of response,
Hmm.
right? So impulse control, emotional regulation, all of that stuff, we still human, and the amygdala fires off and sends us like we go like woof, 0 to 60 in like 1 second. But then when you think, what do I have to lose? You kind of pull it all back. And so I just think that more people um need to be equipped with that thought process.
Hmm.
As I look at, we talked about the slow erosion, of being, I won't even say etiquette, but just the slow erosion of courtesy and the slow erosion of um niceness,
Hmm.
kindness, assuming positive intent. I'm not going to say it's necessarily, there was it, all of those things have always been there because, I mean, hey, they used to have shootouts at the OK Corral, right? So
Hmm.
it's not, um, but I just think that in recent years, in more recent years, and I do think that the advent of social media has accelerated that people are so reactive and not responsive.
Hmm.
And anytime you're in a reactive mode, I don't think you actually protect or keep someone safe. I think you actually add to the trauma,
Right.
and you add new traumas to the situation. So those are some of the things I have to say. Let's see, we got a comment here. Oh, this is a long comment. Let me read this. Let's see what you say, Joe to Joe. I can remember back in the day when this guy was trying to extort money from my younger brother by threatening to harm my mother. I was 25, he was 21. Sisters, let me tell you, I was riding around looking for this dude with my nine. While I know now, and even then it was stupid and could have ended really badly if I had found him. Yeah, I believe it.
Yeah, I mean, th- the what's really interesting about what Jody put up, it was a story just about a month and a half ago about a young man who allegedly had been being bullied by someone on, I don't want to get the university wrong, so it was an HBCU campus, and his sister came up. She got to the checkpoint. Of course, she said she was a family member, so they let her come in. She went there and she stabbed the boy to death. She killed him because he
Mhm.
was bullying her brother. And so when I hear conversations about, well, they shouldn't have done this, and what I feel like is somewhat justification, like you said, there has to be some evenness or some balance to it, and to Jody's point, at 25 though, we're not fully we're just at the
Just
point
hmm
of being fully our brains being fully formulated. But at 50ish, kind of expected a different reaction because A, you have more to lose, but B, because you understand that things can escalate in a way. Again, yesterday, this morning I saw on Deion Taylor, he's a filmmaker, saw on his Instagram page in Sacramento. I don't know what was going on. Something happened. There was some altercation. Next thing you know, you just hear gunshots firing off in the background. So apparently, like 6 people died, or and 10 people were shot. But you just hear this just gunfire going off, off, off. I just cannot imagine if you're out at a party or going to a club, whatever happened, whatever transpired there. I don't think it probably warranted what ultimately happened. And that's where we have to start thinking about what if this thing goes wrong, like uh Jody said, if this goes wrong, how could that have impacted the
And
rest
like
of
she
our
said,
life?
her husband was
Yeah.
right, because as you said, the the that would have been a trauma on top of a trauma on top of a whole nother trauma. Because
Absolutely.
if she had harmed that person, then what did that mean for her and her husband's relationship? Then if you are going into a court situation and jail and this and that, like it's just we just compound the trauma by not saying, okay, how else can I handle this? Are we human? Yes. Can we go from 0 to 100 or 0 to 60 real fast?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. But when we talk about safety and protection, I want safety and protection that I am kept whole in the situation.
Mhm.
I do want I would want someone to defend me if someone was wrong, doing something wrong to me. But that defense does not have to be in a physical way. Now, if someone is grabbing me or attacking me, then yes, the proportionate response is to physically push them off or restrain them in some way,
Right.
right? Um, but you know, I just don't want us to continue to have compound trauma.
Which leads me to another point.
Okay.
We kind of have to have Dr. Olana on here once a month because the level of trauma, like who was I talking to? I was talking to someone the other day. Dang it, I can't
I will
remember.
let her know what she's going to say is that y'all need to sign up for her trauma recovery
Yeah,
course.
we should. We should. We absolutely should. But I think that there is so much to learn there because somebody I was talking to, maybe it's Jessica, I don't remember, but anyway, she mentioned like, oh, how she was talking to a friend, and we're just the WW, the walking wounded, and I was like, oh my gosh, I use that all the time. Like, there's so many people walking around just wounded and broken, and spiritually, mentally, physically. And to your point about our Sunday school class, I mean, that is one of the saving graces, quite honestly, in all of this craziness that we're going through. And we keep re injuring ourselves, even quite frankly, seeing the images of this thing that shall remain nameless over and over and over again. It's like we're re injuring ourselves, even though we didn't have to physically experience it. Many of us know what that sort of thing feels like, what that kind
Hmm.
of trauma feels like, and we keep re-injuring ourselves. If it's not that, if it's even conversations about your friend Clarence and Jenny, I mean, like, you're just like, wow, how traumatized must you be to be living with somebody who clearly don't
Hate
even
you.
mess with folks? Yeah, like, yeah, deeply, like at her
Hmm.
core, hate you,
Yeah.
but you're married to this person.
Hmm.
You see those things, or like we said with Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson, just when you have all of us are living this trauma over and over again, when we see someone of her caliber who is clearly, I remember many years ago when one of my friends, she had gone up for a position and she was in the running for it. She was um, for a VP role, and she was they was one of the final candidates, and then ultimately she dropped out and she went on ahead and took another position in another company and left. And I remember having that conversation with her about why she dropped out. And she said for her, it was more so because, hey, I've been doing this role for X number of years. And even if I had gotten promoted to VP, the title would have changed, but what would have the job really been? Would it have been different? What would have been the runway? I want to do something where I'm learning something new and what have you. So even though she went to another company and she was a director there, she got the experience that she wanted in terms of her career growth and what have you.
Hmm.
But I remember being like, dang, she got an undergrad from Harvard and an MBA from Wharton. If she can't make it, then the rest of us, we don't stand a chance. And that's kind of the feeling when you see somebody like Judge Jackson. You're just like, wow, if you all are questioning her credentials at that level, then I know how y'all find any reason to pick us apart. Anybody who has anything less than straight A's every class that they ever took. Like, I we know, and that whole experience was also traumatizing for so many of us because it's like
Hmm.
we've all been there.
Yes. It most absolutely, it most certainly was traumatizing. I dropped in the chat there for Dr. Alana's Trauma Recovery Institute. That's where you can get some free resources. Her organization there, that is her nonprofit side of her business, where you can get some free resources and some free training there. And then if you want to explore more, you can definitely explore more with her. Um, because to your point, we do have a lot of compound traumas that we're dealing with, And some of us still dealing with the traumas related to just being in the pandemic,
Mm-hmm.
coming out the pandemic.
Girl,
They're
yes, they trying to make us go back into these
they trying to
workplaces.
make you go back into the workforce when they got B2A out there. Like, no, no, because we done had alpha, beta, gamma, delta. I mean, we done had all of them all the way down to Omicron. Now we got Omicron B2A. Like, wait a minute, is 85 beta out there too? Like, come on now, come on now. So
Right.
yeah, I get it. That is all of these things, and here's the thing about life, as I talked about up top about the storms we had. You know, um, we're all always having some type of storm or trial or something that we're experiencing, but it's not what you go through, it's how you choose to go through it, because we're all going
Mm.
to go through things. We are all traumatized, so welcome to the club. So okay, now that I know that I'm traumatized, my degree of trauma may not be equal to someone else's, but I still have trauma and I still have to work through it.
Mm.
Otherwise, I just hold on to it and hold on to it, and they keep compounding until I explode and or break down and or have an emotional outburst or crawl up like a ball and can't climb out of bed. Right?
Yeah.
At some point, there's always a breaking point if you never figure out how to go through. And we're just constantly going through every day.
And this earlier also on, well, first in Sunday school, the question was asked basically when you have questions or when you have things that you're trying to understand and work through, who is your Paul, right? Who do you go to ask certain questions about, your salvation, your growth, how to do things right, because we were talking about the church at Corinth. They wanted to know about, girl, if they should be eating them foods and stuff. And so, but it was interesting because similarly, I'm a fan of Wall Street Trapper, and I follow him on Instagram, and he posted today about who, this video short clip where this woman is asking, who do you go to when you need someone, like when you need help? And it was men that she was asking, and everyone was like, oh, nobody, I'm a man. There's nobody I'm supposed to go to. And he was just saying how for him, he was having a moment where here he is, he just got the keys to a new facility, 6,000 square foot, I guess, facility. And he was happy at first, but then all of a sudden he was overcome with all of these feelings of, oh my goodness, like, can I do this? Now I have to hire people. Now I have to do more of this. And so he was like, he was immediately overwhelmed, and he was so happy that he had a group of brothers, that two brothers he could call on, and those brothers immediately stopped what they were doing and prayed for him in that moment. And he had that outlet. But that's another issue. It's sisters as well, but it's so many brothers who just simply don't seem to have an outlet because they have been conditioned to believe that they are not supposed to have an outlet, that they're a man, they're supposed to just figure it out. And that clearly
Ain't working for you.
it's not working for, and we, for a lot of folks, and we sadly saw it on display, as Gerard Carmichael said a week ago, although it feels like high school. It feels like how many years ago? 30 years ago. Like this happened 30 years ago.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
was a week ago. But I do
Yeah.
want to talk about Gerard Carmichael just a little bit.
Okay. Well, I dropped that question down in the chat, and that's something we definitely can talk about more. Who do you go to with your questions, your concerns, your feelings, or your fears? And Jessica said, "Hey, ain't working for them or the women in their lives." I know that's right, honey. And some
Yeah,
of
Amanda Seals has had a whole. I'm gonna just call it a series because she keeps talking about the patriarchy and the systems that are in place that create BS
it's this
brothers.
psychology. It has created this psychology. It has created. That's why, again, that's why I love talking about what Dr. Alan does. Because again, you think about, okay, so where did this belief start? Like if so that's where you have to use your prefrontal cortex, your executive functioning part of your brain, to start saying, well, where did I get this belief from that this is what a man does and this is what a man looks like, or this is what a woman does and this is what a woman looks like? Where was that belief even born? And what did I see perpetuated in terms of what I've read, what I saw in school, what I witnessed within my family? And then a lot of times when we start really examining, we're like, okay, actually, all this stuff that I was told is contrary to how people was living their life. So why the hell am I still holding on to this belief anyway? Because it ain't served us then and it ain't serving us now.
Correct.
How about that? So whether that is about who's supposed to be the breadwinner, whether that's about the strong black woman, right? When we start really breaking it down, like all these things we heard, and you're like, okay, but that wasn't really what was happening in the life. That wasn't really what's happening. So these things were never congruent, and therefore all of these belief systems we need to just abandon and really start dealing with life as it's happening and how things are unfolding. Now, I do believe that there are some foundational principles and around community and around support and around growing together. I do believe there's some universal truths around iron sharpening iron and around, who you choose to have company with and all those things. There are definitely some universal truths about what you put into your mind and what you put in feed your mind and your body. All of those things are universally true. And so there are universal truths out there, but a lot of things that we've been conditioned to are contrary to those universal truths. And we need to ask ourselves, so why are we holding on to that stuff so, like, we just have this stranglehold on it? We just need to let it go. Let it go. Let it go. Yeah. So anyway.
Yeah, well, the whole conversation about protection and provision, even with that providing and protecting, again, provision ain't just about money, and that's another myth that we've gotten ourselves caught up in, a belief system that is not serving us. This whole concept of a man is supposed to be the head of the household. I mean, that's fine if the man is the head, but then as I've been taught, the woman is the neck. So you can't, if your neck ain't right, your
And
head.
we know that's why I'm going to the chiropractor in the morning, because that
Yeah.
neck, girl, that neck be doing some things to you, don't it?
Right. And so to Jessica's point, it ain't, these things aren't serving these men, and it certainly ain't serving the women. And so neck and head, shoulders, all of this got to
Head,
be in
shoulders, knees, and
proper
toes.
proper alignment. We got to be in proper alignment.
Head, shoulders, knees, and toes. I mean, that's what the Wiggles said. Eyes and ears and mouth and nose. I mean, all of it got to be together.
Right. So, but anyway, moving
We digress.
along.
Yeah, you wanted to talk about Gerard Carmichael.
Yeah, so his SNL, you just showed me his SNL opening number, and I heard about his new special that's out, and of course he mentions it in his SNL opening, and so bombshell. I mean, what is it? Spoiler alert! He comes out as gay, and so what I find interesting is he's on Saturday Night Live. He's talking about conversations with Lauren Michael, and then my question is, but are we ever gonna get the Carmichael show back? You right? You come on, NBC. What are y'all doing? Because that was a great show.
Listen, I told you know that's like I still have the Carmichael show saved on my Hulu in my stuff. And I still will sit there and watch the 2 seasons that we had. The Carmichael show was one of the best shows that NBC had in a very long time.
And listen, sis, I don't mean to interrupt you, but let me tell NBC this.
Yes, it was a flawless show. And you know what? all that shine Abbott Elementary getting right now,
That's exactly
it
what
was
I was about.
before Abbott Elementary. I promise you.
Well, I was just about to say, NBC, y'all can go ahead and bring me on to y'all development team. But if you were smart, you would bring Carmichael back, because right now, that's about the only thing that could compete with an Abbott Elementary right now from a comedy standpoint.
From what they have on the air right now,
Because I mean, let me say this: I've been supporting. We have been
I've been
supporting in
watching
this.
them all. I'm not gonna call no names of no shows. I watch all the shows just because I want to get more plays for
Well,
all of
I'm
it.
gonna say on NBC, I have watched Grand Crew, and I have supported Grand Crew. I think most of us have. But and it's gotten better. Don't get me wrong. I'm taking nothing away from Grand Crew. However, comma, you want to compete with Abbott Elementary, you better bring Gerard Carmichael and the Carmichael Show back, David Allen Greer and Loretta Devine, and pull old girl back from what's she on Harlem? It is.
She's on Harlem,
Pull
yes.
on back from Harlem and get it together, because that's I don't I don't see anything else that they've come up with in recent years that could remotely compete with Abbott Elementary. And we know Abbott Elementary go if Abbott Elementary don't win all the awards.
Abbott Elementary should win Best Comedy, Best Drama, Best Actor,
Best drama.
Best Listen soundtrack. Cause what my boy said, about the drugs. Oh,
uh,
Tariq.
Tariq, I don't remember Tariq's song,
But
but
he said, punch him in the face. Punch him in the face. Hey, let me tell you something. That is, I mean, Quinta Brunson and the whole cast. And what's the sister who plays Ava again?
I can't remember her name. But let me look it
Listen,
up.
I love every element of that show. And
Janelle
um,
James.
yes, Janelle, listen. Again, look, we got a few comments here. I've been replaying the Sweet Baby Jesus and the Grown One scene all weekend. And we got another comment here. To this day, I don't know why they took it off air. I love the Carmichael show. Well, supposedly, based on what he said, the powers that be were trying to get him to
Tone it
soften the show,
down. Yes.
to tone it down. Um, and he just was like, no, I'm not going to do that. That's why it abruptly ended. We didn't have no series finale, no, real finale. It just was like, boom, that's it. Because he was just like, I'm not changing what I'm doing. What I'm doing is what I want to do. And I want to actually push the envelope even further. And the powers that be was not feeling it. So
And
um
let me add one other thing. This is a little off topic, but Jessica will understand because I saw this pop up on my feed as well. That sister who tricked us on April Fool's Day talking about there was a different world reboot. So first of all, my heart dropped because in my mind, I am writing the different world reboot. I have to be on the writing team. Jessica can join me if she would like. But
all right, Nick girl.
I have the concept. I had it all down in my head. Now they keep playing, Jasmine guy is getting older. Kadeem Hardison is getting older. They gonna make it more challenging for my storyline to work. But I'm like, when that came flashed up on the IG, my heart sank because I was like, I ain't on the writing team. But I also was like, again, finally, yet another one, NBC. I understand, y'all want to stay away from the Cosby image. Baby, nobody think about him no more. Nobody, we stopped associating him with a different world a long time ago.
I mean,
We are
after season one, once Debbie got hold of it, it was no longer. I mean, his name might have been in the thing,
in the credits, but again, another opportunity, NBC. I'm trying to help you be competitive here in this comedy space.
Mm-hmm.
You are failing yourself.
Yes, I would say so. So I would say, y'all, I know it was a slow pickup because people didn't know about it, but Abbott was a slow pickup too, except for some of us who was there from day one. I was A1 from day one. And that Carmichael show, NBC, where you at? Let's add NBC.
Please tag him because I need a development role.
Yes,
Because
yes,
I might
for
not be able to write a joke, but I know what's funny.
sure.
Go on, say NBC, come on with the reboot of A Different World. Stop playing now. These folks getting old.
Okay, let me write that. I'm typing that in here. Let's
Thank
reboot.
you.
Yeah, because
Listen,
it was 2020 that was it 2020?
I don't know. Jessica, do that research for us
Well,
real
no, it
quick.
was just
When did it?
on that episode when they were talking about that when they
Oh,
traveled
yeah,
to
yeah. It was 20.
Germany.
I thought it was 2020. Yes, I think it
I
might have
think it
been
was
2020
2020.
or 20.
Y'all done let the whole pandemic. Y'all should have done had this done.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm just
I
saying.
mean, y'all got a whole peacock for these reboots or these reimaginings. Let's
Nation,
reimagine.
yeah.
Come on, reimagine.
Yes, exactly. You do have a whole network that needs some more content, and as good as the Bel Air might be, baby, it is not. I mean, I know y'all want that to be y'all power, but for stars, but mm, that's another thing.
Listen, I stopped all, power. Okay, one, boom. I tried a little bit on that second one, boom. No, I'm not even gonna try no more. I'm gonna tell you what I watch on Stars. Outlander.
Mm.
Okay, those period pieces get me every time.
Well, honestly, I used to like Survivor's Remorse. They took that away.
They took Survivor's Remorse off too. That but Outlander, child, I'm into Outlander. And then if we're gonna talk about a period show, we might as well talk about what just came back,
Well,
Bridgerton.
I'm gonna tell you right now, I ain't watched it yet, child.
Okay, well,
I
me and my
haven't.
daughter had to watch it because my
Come on,
daughter
we
was
can
like,
talk
"Come
about
on,
it.
mama."
I don't mind being spoiled, but there's certain shows that it's just like spoiler alert. Okay, no, I'm fine. Yeah, I don't.
Yes, we know how they did. They ended up the girl just yeah. So much trauma. See, we say trauma on top of trauma. You taking my shows off the air. I just be just getting good in the groove. And but you have I'm not even gonna call yeah, I was about to say it. I might as well say y'all had friends on there for 13 years.
And what's my boy? They brought him back to put him on Queens just so he could die right from Survivor's Remorse. What's his name? Ron. Oh man, now I'm gonna have to look him up.
Oh man. I mean, Seinfeld was on the air for 20 years?
Yeah, right.
19? Come on, man. Oh, that's all. That's all anyway. But yeah, so yeah, all right. So we talked about protection, what it looks like. We went on a little rant about Gerard Carmichael and
Ronrico Lee. Sorry, I had to say that. Ronrico Lee.
oh yeah.
Brought him on right on to Queens so he could go ahead to glory.
But I'm telling, but so how do you think ABC is gonna fill the Blackish hole?
I'm interested to see if they're going to try to pull Grownish over there, and because Marcus Scribney is signed on to Grownish, so I don't know. I'm wondering if they're going to try to do that.
I think they're gonna leave it on freeform.
Okay, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what they have in the works, but one thing I do know, of course, if you look at each one of the networks, CBS, NBC, and ABC, I don't really even count them other ones. Those three major networks, they have very distinct personalities, and so
Yes.
things that you can do on ABC, you definitely would never do on CBS. You might do some of it on NBC, but CBS is just that's talk about you want to talk about some long that Big Bang Theory. stayed on there.
Yeah, but it was
So
actually not as long as I thought it was. I
Big Bang Theory.
Yeah, it was long, but it wasn't as long as I thought it was.
I mean, well, how long? Big. Let me look this up.
Google it, girl. It wasn't as long as I thought it was. But that one, Mom, what's it the show called Mom with Allison Janney? Like that was. I mean, let me tell you, if you get a show on CBS, so shout out to The Neighborhood, which is on CBS, and I make sure I do go watch that and support said the entertainer and Tashina Arnold. But
Big
the
Bang Theory had had 12 seasons.
12, yeah. So I'm telling you, when
But like the first season had 17 episodes. Remember, back then we was having really much our seasons what
we was
this
having real seasons
this 10 season, and then we got to take a break and not come back for a year
for
and a
two
half.
years because Atlanta just came back. I was like, 4 years? Like, we don't even
Yeah,
know where y'all at.
I
Where
don't even
y'all at?
remember. I done forgot. All I know is that woman put that chicken in that microwave, and this Jessica got me seeing Paula Patton out here on this interweb calling herself cooking her mama's fried chicken recipe. Let me ask you something.
Girl, listen, when I saw that woman put that stuff, that flour and put it in the microwave, I was like, I was just like that little boy. I was like, this ain't even cooked. What is this?
And it was what was crazy was, as it progressed, I remembered that what that came from. I was like, what was that family? Remember there was
Oh
that
yeah, of course. I remember the whole. I saw what they were doing with it. I
doing.
mean,
Obviously, thankfully, it didn't end the same. But I said,
right.
listen, I just saw another clip on this IG. I told somebody, I said, these little kids getting on this Instagram and stuff and TikTok saying all kind of crazy stuff. They're gonna end up eating fried chicken out of the microwave because they go get sent off.
Listen,
Um, but yeah, Atlanta, yes. I don't remember where we were because now I'm just like, because even Snowfall coming back, I was just like, who's this girlfriend? I don't remember how he met her. Okay.
child. I stopped watching Snowfall at season 3. I got 2 whole seasons to go. Like I ain't see 3, 4. Like I got so much to catch up. I might as well just start from the beginning at some point.
But let me tell you about your friend Paula Patton that Jessica that messed around and showed me. I'm gonna send it to you. So Paula Patton want to show us how her mama made fried chicken. So Paula Patton washes the chicken off. Okay, cool. You started off good because folks be trying to say you don't even have to clean chicken no more. Oh, then Paula put the chicken in the flour. I ain't seen no seasoning in the flour at all, but okay,
Did she brine the chicken, girl? Because you got to put the flavor on the inside some kind of way. Did
Did she
she
brine the
inject
chicken?
it? Did
I'm
she
about to
brine
tell you
it?
what she did to the chicken.
Okay.
After she took it out of this flour and she put it in the grease, then she starts.
She ain't soaking in no buttermilk or nothing.
Jessica, Jessica, please get your friend. Get your friend.
Yes, Netta, clean the chicken.
She put this chicken after she dipped it in the flour. She done put it in the grease. Then gonna tell us about seasoning. How her mama used 3 ingredients: Lowry's, pepper, and paprika. She starts sprinkling it in the grease. Girl, what is you doing? How is you seasoning grease? What? Then she take after float whatever. She take it out and it's gonna be hot, but it's. I said even Robin Thicke know how to cook some fried chicken.
Something. Listen,
No, there was no buttermilk involved.
the flavor
There
has
was
to get on the inside.
no brining.
So that's what vexes me about these people here in this Orlando area with
Right,
crawfish
right,
and with crawfish and crab legs.
right.
Don't
the
ask
juice
me, well,
don't be
what flavor
seasoned.
you want? What you mean, what flavor I want? Did you boil them right? Because if you boil them right, the flavor should be on the inside.
Inside. The flavor is
See, you
seasoning.
start with your water. When you do a boil, people, you first your water. You salt your water.
Right. Well, first you got to clean the crawfish, and
Well,
you
you
got to.
gotta soak your crawfish. I ain't talking about all that. I'm just talking
But
about
I'm saying when you purge the crawfish, you purge with salt. Like you got to start at purging. We got to start using this
what.
using some
Listen,
salt.
even if you didn't purge it and you just had them, you just rinse them off a little bit. If
I
your
guess.
water don't have onion and lemon and some peppers and them Zatarain's bags in it and a little bit of that Zatarain, that liquid Zatarain, at least a capful of that liquid Zatarain in it, then you ain't boiling no crawfish. Then
No,
you ain't got no. If you putting butter and seasoning in a bag and steaming it on top of the shell, because they are crustaceans,
crustacean. Yeah.
it don't penetrate the shell. So the flavor y'all getting on y'all lips is from when you licking off of the shell. But the inside meat, your inside meat gotta taste like something.
That
If you know
inside
what you're
meat
doing.
still looks and tastes like the microwave chicken.
Girl, listen. Look, Felicia said I just came home and I'm hardly listen. We trying to save lives over here right now. Seasoning, salt,
That's
organic
exactly what
pepper,
her three ingredients
paprika in the
were.
grease. Oh Lord,
Girl,
yeah,
she was colored like she was like, you gotta get in there, girl.
yeah. Do they
It,
understand how hard? Listen. Wait till you come back to Orlando and you go to these. Well, what flavor you want? Do you want Cajun or do you want lemon pepper? And I'm thinking, well, if you ain't put the lemon pepper in the water, it ain't gonna taste like lemon. Cause see, you still gotta crack it open and you can taste it, but you're really getting your mouth is desensitized from the flavor you get. If the flavor ain't on the inside, you ain't did something right. It's
you
so
did everything. You
disrespectful.
did everything wrong, actually.
Everything wrong. And even with chicken, you either marinate your chicken, right?
Well, Paula did not because,
If
like I
you
said,
have
she
if
had
your batter,
rinsed
you
it.
have to season your batter. It can't just be flour. You put the seasoning in the flour,
Flour, you're right.
and then some people double dredge because they want the extra thick coating on it. So they have it in the buttermilk, put it in the flour, put it back in the buttermilk, put it back in the flour. Some people don't do all of that. It ain't no problem sprinkling a little salt or little parsley on it at the end or a little scallion on top for some garnish. But that's not where your main flavor come in. Your flavor got to be put in on the inside. And if you ain't got flavor on the inside, you ain't cooking. How about that?
Well, Paula wasn't cooking, and cooking and her acting, I guess, about neck and neck.
Exactly. Your inside meat got to taste like something. Now, listen. Then they have the nerve to sprinkle dry season on crawfish right before serving. Sarah, you know it. That's what they do. That's what they do. Anyway, I know that was a whole diatribe on something else, but that's trauma as well. Because you go to a restaurant, you try to fix your mouth. And then
Well, it's traumatizing to have folks getting on the interweb. Listen, I'm just like this. If you don't come to my house, then you just have to believe, like, because I'm sure most people think I can't cook that, and that's cool. I'm okay with that. If you come to my house and we get a chance to eat something, it's fine. If you never do and you think for the life of me,
damn, talk about it now. Everything. You supposed to season everything.
right. And so if you
In the name of fried chicken or fried fish. Now, see, with fried fish, you can get away a little bit when you have that seasoned batter. If you buy that seasoned Zatarain's, you don't really have to do as much to the fish itself because that seasoned Zatarain's holds
but
up
you
so well.
still need something to stick to the doggone fish.
Yeah, you gotta have something so it can stick to the fish. I mean, you gotta have whether you put a little have you because sometimes you just do it marinated in a little mustard so you kind of get that mustard on the
That's what
inside.
I like.
Or if you don't do that, you gotta still put a little salt and pepper on it. But if you buy that seasoned Zatarain's, it does save y'all a little bit. But you know when you bite into a fish, you know if the season is only coming from the batter or if it's on the inside.
Side.
I
Right.
mean, you can taste the difference.
Right. So, like I said, we've gone on a tangent, but people probably should stop cooking on the internet unless you're like, this is your job. Like, I mean, I sometimes question, I'll be watching Robert what's his face on Restaurant Impossible going into these restaurants and redoing them and everything like that. Girl, I'll be looking up on the internet like, well, what are their success rates after he leaves? Because is he really doing something? Is he really changing these people's lives or what? If this ain't your full time job, it's just the internet
Let
is
it
just
go, let it
the
go. Once again,
interwebs is a lie.
the
But
interwebs is a lie about a whole lot of things. That's why we don't want you to get suckered in. We want you to read and verify, and even check us sometimes. Because sometimes, you know, we
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 are
have
erroneous.
we have a lot of a little bit of information about a whole lot of things, and sometimes that's why we try to drop in links and sources and different things like that because we want you to be able to come to your own conclusions and make great decisions. But girl, we have already talked an hour and we didn't even have nothing planned for the day. We just, like we said, we're giving you an inside look at what we do and how Hey Sister really started. Just the conversations that we normally have, and we would sit on the phone with each other for an hour plus because we could probably still go on and go into all kind of directions. I guess Duke lost because I saw people, shouting out Coach K. So I guess the end of the era is
Yeah, they lost yesterday.
okay. An end of an era happened at Duke University. So shout out to Coach K. Hey, you did your thing.
Yeah, they
So
said between Duke and North Carolina, they had 11 championships between the two of them. So, um, yep, he went out. He didn't win, but he went out. So, yay, thank you.
mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, if you take nothing else from this episode of Hey Sister, remember what Arnetta said: season everything.
Season everything. Get some seasoning in your life from
On
the
every left
inside.
out.
With that, we signing off. Peace. Bye, everybody.